Hello everyone and welcome to GTA Online Racing episode 19, and today I want to talk about lap times, and specifically the lap times that I get when I test the cars, because this is something that I've seen is becoming a bit more prevalent, that people are coming up to me or posting on forums or whatever, disputing the results that I get because they've gone a tenth quicker in an adder than I got with the entity or something like that. I am putting out lap times there for people to beat if they want. But I'm going to let everyone in with a little secret today. It's not very difficult to beat those lap times. If you're a top driver, if you can get the best out of the cars, it's not actually that difficult. And I'm going to explain why that is today. So it's all to do with racing lines around the track. So when I started doing the testing, I stuck to very specific racing lines around the track. I didn't go off onto the pavement at all. I maybe had two wheels off the track, cutting various corners very slightly. There are basically a lot of ways to get around cutting corners a lot quicker than what I do in my testing. A perfect example of that is the right turn just as you come through the hospital. So you go underneath the hospital and you turn right. The quickest way to do that right turn is to go directly through the bush, so straight through. As long as you don't miss the checkpoint, that's a lot quicker. But I don't use that when I do it. I use a line where I just sort of clip the side of the pavement with two wheels. But most of the time, I try to stay away from cutting that bush. And that loses me a lot of time in terms of absolute lap time around the track. And the reason that I chose the lines that I did is because it allowed me for high levels of repeatability, comparability, consistency. When you're testing every car multiple times, 50, 60 times on the same track, you want to be able to not run into any issues. So some of these sort of what you would call optimal lines around the track do have a bit of a higher risk factor in them. So I chose the lines around the track that allowed me to be consistently on the limit within sort of like reasonable boundaries, which the reasonable boundaries were the lines that I chose. So the point that I want to make is that I'm still on the limit of what those cars are capable on those racing lines. Those cars are going as quick as they can within the conditions that I've set for them, and that's what testing is all about. I want the car to be the only variable. I'm the same in terms of the driver. I try to drive exactly the same. Obviously I'm only human, mistakes will crop in, but on the whole I try to drive as well as I can in exactly the same way. I drive within the same lines. I don't change anything. I want the car to be the one thing that changes, the only variable, so that allows me to find out whether any particular car is quicker than another. So I'm going to let you into another little secret here. I can go between 1 and 1.5 seconds quicker in every single car than the lap times that I post up on the testing videos. So for example, in the entity, the fully modded, I got a 54.8. I've had a 54.2, and that was on a scruffy lap. A 53 is very easily possible. The same with the Elegy. I've had a 55.0 with the Elegy. I've also had near enough a 53 second lap. And the further down you get, the slower the cars are, the bigger the difference can be. So, I can go much quicker than what I do in the testing videos and the lap times that I put up. But I don't, because using the lines that I have to do to get those times is a lot more risky. And there's no point in me doing new testing videos, sort of, if I'd done the Turismo, the alpha testing with the new lines, I would have been about a second quicker than what I, in terms of comparison between the cars. So I might have got a 59 second lap with the Jester, which would have supposedly made it quicker than the Elegy. But that's not true, because I haven't actually tested the Jester under the same conditions as I tested the Elegy. If I took the Elegy around again, I could get a much quicker time than what I got in the original Fastest Cars video. So it's all about the lap times that you get are all based on the racing lines that you use. And people who now, because everybody is getting better at the game, people are consistently able to get better lap times across the board because they're finding new ways to get around the track that are much quicker than the conditions that I set when I first did the testing videos. And that's fine, you know, that's absolutely great. You know, we want the lap times to come even further and further down. But the problem is that people are taking it as fact that because they get a quicker lap time than me, that car is suddenly better, and that's not the case. You know, some of the best lap times that I've seen with the Entity and Racing Crews are 54.1, I think, is the best I've seen. A 53 is definitely possible, but you know, in terms of actual proof of lap times, a 54.1 is the best. Now other people have managed to get 54.6s, 54.7s in the Turismo, in the Adder, but yes, they've beaten the lap time that I got with the Entity, but that was under different conditions. They still haven't beaten the best lap time that's ever been set around cutting corners in a supercar, because that was set with the Entity. So you know, you've got to take this into some kind of perspective. You can't just test one car around one track in a different way to somebody else and then disagree with what they've said because you got a quicker lap time. That's not how it works. You have to test every single car in the same way to get a fuller picture and a fuller insight into why these results are as they are. And you know, I sometimes probably come across quite arrogant in some of my videos, I can imagine, because I've done all of this testing and I've spent hours and hours on doing loads of lap times, and you know, I fully believe in the results that I get because I've done all of this testing, I've had all of this background, and then people are able to get one lap quicker with one car. Don't do all of the rest of the testing with all of the other cars to see if the results stay consistent and then immediately discount all of the work that I've done. You know, that's not really the way to go about it. You have to take it as the full picture rather than just one lap time with one car driven completely differently. I mean, and you know, you could say that when you're using different racing lines around the track, you're essentially racing around two different tracks. You're racing around one track that can be a second, you can do a second quicker than the other one. So you've got to be consistent with everything. And I do feel slightly validated that the racing crew that I've seen, you know, all of the top guys seem to agree in general with what I've said. You know, I've gone into racing crews, and the idea that the Elegy is the quickest sports car, the Entity is the quickest supercar, those ideas have held true to people who haven't seen my videos and probably put even more time into it than I do. So, you know, I do feel validated in that way. It's just that sometimes I feel like people aren't understanding what I've done entirely with all the testing and are trying to prove me wrong by doing it the wrong way, essentially. You know, the way to do it is to test all of them yourself rather than just try to beat one lap in a different way. I do appreciate that other people are going out and testing these things themselves. It's certainly a lot better than comments saying, oh, I always win in the Adder, therefore it's better, you know, or I beat my mate on a drag race, so the Adder's better, or whatever the people say. Testing them properly around a lap is a lot better than doing that, but you know, when you're testing them differently, you can't just claim these things. You have to actually do multiple tests with multiple cars yourself. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video, guys, just to sort of air that out, really. And normal service will be resumed in the next episode. I hope that those of you who do, you know, believe what I do and believe my testing at least enjoyed the video, the racing. There was some quite good races in there. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.